consolidating tracks. So now we want to do kind of the same thing to the rest of our tracks. And one of the big reasons for doing that is one of the same reasons as why we did what we did to the MIDI tracks, making them into audio. And the purpose for consolidating our tracks is so that we can better share our tracks with other platforms, other programs and such. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our track, and instead of having a separate region here and a separate region here that begin at different times, we're going to make that all one solid region so that it starts at the beginning of the session. So all of our files start and end at the same time. And that way we can just grab them and pull them into another program and just butt them all up at the beginning, and everything starts and ends at the same time and goes together. So we're going to click on the organ track here. And in Pro Tools, there's a nice little feature with the command focus mode, which is this little A to Z button here, which gives you some one-key key commands. And the semicolon or colon will move our selection down, and the P moves it up. So we can select our organ track here, and we can move down to our tenor track, and we can go to the Edit menu where we go to Consolidate Region. And what this is going to do is it's going to incorporate all of those fades and those gaps and such. And the nice thing here is, here's our little gap that we edited out, and it looks like a file now. There's no sound coming out at all, and that fade that we put in there is now incorporated into this file. And all comes back in, so nice and slick. So it's nice now that we can move our file around wherever we want and throw it all the way back to the beginning, and now we're perfectly in time with everything else. So one of the issues that we have, though, is now we have this track that's called, this file that's called choir tenor 0303. If we actually want to make it a little smoother, we can rename our track before we consolidate, change that to tenor. And now when we consolidate our track with the Option Shift 3, which is the key command for it, now it's called tenor 01. You can double click on that and get rid of a little bit of that extra stuff there. And there we go. Now we have a tenor track. Okay, so what we'd probably do in this circumstance is go through and rename all of the tracks first, and then consolidate everything, and then go through and get rid of those extra parts of the word there, so that everything is just organ and bass instead of all these numbers after it. Okay, the other thing we want to do in this consolidating process is we have our choir left, choir right, choir room left, choir room right, all on separate tracks. Now, for the way we're going to do our mixing, we want to put those in stereo tracks. So I'm going to hit Command Shift N for new track, Command right arrow for stereo, hit the 2 key, and hit enter. And now I've got 2 stereo tracks. So I'm also going to consolidate these tracks first. So there's my 4, left, right, choir overheads and choir rooms, Option Shift 3. Okay, and I can actually grab all 4 of these at the same time and throw them over to these 2 stereo tracks. So this first one is my choir overhead track, and the second one is my choir room track. Okay, and then once again I can go through and rename these tracks. And what's going to happen in Pro Tools is they're going to actually rename each file, so one's choir's overs .l and one's .r. And the same thing with the room mics. Rename those, and they'll put the .l and the .r. Now what's going to happen is if you pull this into another program, another session in a different platform, different program, it's not going to necessarily keep your stereo tracks. It's probably going to put them on mono tracks, and you can do the same process in the other program. So now what we're going to do is get rid of those 4 empty tracks there. So right click on these and hit delete, and it's asking me if there's extra stuff that I want to make sure I don't delete, but I don't need to worry about any of that. And so what we'll do is we'll just go through the process and keep doing that same thing, consolidate everything. And what I would usually do in this circumstance is I would select everything and hit consolidate all at once. Make sure everything's the same length. You know, basically just hit P, holding the shift key, hit P all the way up and go all the way down with the semicolon, and then hit Option Shift 3 and let it go. And so we're going to not do that because it's going to be a lot of processing to sit there and have you guys watch, but I'll do that after I stop this video, and for the next video everything will be renamed just like we've been doing. And that is consolidating tracks.